So, good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. I am the next reporter. I'm Perlijane Bunyan Kiblar. So, before I'm going to discuss my topic, we will going to have a quick cut about the past reporter. And the past reporter discussed about the basic parts of the business letter, which are the letterhead, the date line, the inside address, the body of the letter, complementary clause, signature line, and written signature. And also he discussed about the optional parts of a business letter, which is the attention line, subject line, and definition initial or reference initial, the enclosed reference or enclosure notation, no copy notation, carbon copy notation, blind carbon copy notation, and lastly, the mailing notation. So I'll be back in my report. So my report is the business letter punctuation and style. So punctuation used in business letter. There are three ways on how to punctuate our business letters. We can use open punctuation, standard punctuation, and mixed punctuation. So for punctuation, we really omit or we didn't use any punctuation like colon, comma, or anything. So it is very explainable. The punctuation is used in this business letter, which is the standard punctuation, is only on the complementary clause, which is the comma, and in salutation is a colon. So this mixed punctuation, for the salutation, either you chose in the two, whether it is a comma or a colon. So in the complementary clause, it is only the comma. So as you can see in the example that all of the side of the business letter is on the left margin, and sometimes they are omitting a comma or colon in salutation and in complementary clause, or they use a open punctuation. So the major difference of this modified block style is the placement of the return address and the date and the complementary clause, or the heading which is in the right, while the body parts and the address, or the address is on the left side. So in this third block style is like the modified block style, but the difference is it has an indentation, or the space before the first paragraph. So as you can see in the example. So the simplified style is the heading is in the center, and it is like the body part, salutation, and the complementary clause is on the left side. So when you see in the letterhead, it is very uneven uneven indentation, like in the complementary clause and in the salutation, and also it is like the same um, in the semi block style that has a indentation. Third punctuation. So this hanging indented style is like in the indented style in the heading, that it is used an even indentions, and in the hanging indented style is the complementary clause is in the right side, and the this is the opposite also of the um, indented style, because the um, indentation is in the indented style, the indentation is in the first paragraph, while on the hanging indented style, the indentation is on the second line. And the example of this is the references used in research, or the references at the back of the book. So that's all my report, Amy.
Morning, ma'am. I'm Jessica Espinosa and I'm the next reporter. Good news business letter. Primary purpose: provide information or good news. reassure the reader of something. Good news letter is easiest to write. It provides positive news such as awarded contacts, job offers, and other requests. So how to write good news business letter? Of course, start with the good news. For example, dear all, we are very happy to inform you that our November sales reached 2 million USD, a sign that the business is growing in the right direction. Second, summarize the main points of the message. The main message, which should be one or two sentences, forms the main idea that you wish to convey in your report. It also creates a reference point for organizing your entire report. With a clear main message, you will be able to assess how well your report answers the reader's questions, supports your main message, and achieve your purpose. Third is provide details and any needed background information. It is also a very good idea because background information is the additional information your reader needs to know to understand your work. It might include things like definitions, historical context, current events that have bearing on your writing or other information. Last is end on a positive note. For example, congratulations, keep it up, nice job. So take note, the most important while writing a good news message or letter. Be direct, start with the good news to put the reader in a positive frame of mind. Give supporting details, explanation, or commentary. This should be clearly organized. If you have a large amount of information, you may choose to use bullet points, headings, or links attachments. Next is bad news business letter. So in a business writing, a bad news message is a letter, memo, or email that conveys negative or unpleasant information. Information that is likely to disappoint, upset, or even anger a reader. So there are two approaches you can use to deliver a negative news message. The direct approach and the indirect approach. So let's start with the indirect. So when the bad news may have a significant impact on the recipient or you don't know them very well, you may prefer to use the indirect approach. So the indirect approach for delivering bad news has 5 main parts. So these are open with a buffer statement, explain the situation, break the bad news, redirect or provide alternatives, and last, end politely and forward looking. So we'll go through each of these parts in detail. First, buffer statement. So the first part of a negative news message, verbal or written, is a buffer statement. It provides neutral or positive information. It is important that the buffer not be overly positive because this can be misleading or set up the reader to expect a positive news message instead. Next is explanation. An explanation discusses why there is an issue. This may be relatively simple, quiet, complex, or uncomfortable. While an explanation is important, never admit or imply responsibility without written authorization from your company cleared by legal counsel. Try to avoid labeling the bad news. such as calling it inconvenient or disappointing, because this can assume the feelings of your reader and create a negative impression. The person receiving the message may not have felt badly about receiving the news until you pointed out that it was indeed inconvenient or disappointing. Third is break the bad news. So the third part of the negative news message involves the bad news itself, and the emphasis here is on clarity and accuracy. While you want to break the bad news clearly, try not to spotlight it. Fourth is redirect or provide alternatives. The fourth part of a bad news message is the redirect, where you refocus attention on a solution strategy, possible alternatives, or the subsequent actions that will take place. And the last, end politely and forward looking. So you want to end your message politely and looking to the future. Don't mention the bad news again. So next is application letter. So what is an application letter? So an application letter, also known as a cover letter, is a document that accompanies your resume when you're applying for a job. This letter expand upon the information you have noted in your resume. It gives you a powerful opportunity to emphasize your most relevant qualifications and explain why you believe you're the best candidate for the job. So next, how to write an application letter. So follow this step to compose a compelling application letter. First is research the company and job opening, of course. Truly research the company you're applying to and the specifications of the open positions. The more you know about the job, the better you can customize your application letter. Look for details like recent awards the company has received, the name and title for the hiring manager. Second is use a professional format. So this letter should follow a professional format and include your name, your contact information, the date, and the company's information. Begin with a professional salutation such as Dear X, and address the hiring manager by name whenever possible. If true research doesn't yield the hiring manager's name, you may use Dear Department Hiring Manager to address your recipient. Third is state the position you're applying for. So open the letter with a clear statement about the position you are applying for. So mention the company by name. You may want to specify where you saw the job posting. If you were referred by someone at the company, be sure to include their name and position. The fourth is explain why you're the best fit for the job. So in one or two impactful sentences, explain why you're the best fit for this job opening. Provide clear details regarding your experience, skills, education, or certifications. Fifth is summarize your qualifications. Mention the top qualification that make you a good fit for the job. Provide a brief summary of your background that highlights the most important points from your resume. Consider what you want the hiring manager to know first. The reader will likely read your cover letter before reviewing your application. So this is your opportunity to make a compelling argument for why the reader should review your resume. Sixth, mention why you want the job. So include a personal statement about why you want this position. You have already explained why the company should want you. This section details why you have chosen this company and what excites you most about this job opportunity. Seventh is include a professional closing. So thank the reader for reviewing your letter, reference your resume and any other attached documents, and offer to provide additional information as needed. Provide mention that you look forward to the next steps in the hiring process, and conclude with sincerely as a closing. So we have here key elements of application letter. First, information about you, the date, the contact person's name, title, employer, and address, salutation, opening paragraph, middle paragraph, second middle paragraph, and last, contact information and closing. So this is the example of application letter. So the next topic is letter of inquiry. So a letter of inquiry is a short letter you can write to a foundation to request a grant for your organizations. So letters of inquiry are typically only a few pages long and discuss the main points of a full grant proposal. So true, a letter of inquiry is shorter than a full proposal. It can take just as long to write because it requires you to condense important information into a few concise pages. So often, if the recipient becomes interested in your organizations after reading your letter of inquiry, they may request a full proposal. So, an effective letter of inquiry includes a few key components. So, here are 6 steps to write a great letter of inquiry. First, start with an introduction. So, the introduction of your letter of inquiry serves as an executive summary of your letter. Your introduction can include your name, position, and organization, as well as a brief description of your organization's project and the amount of funding you are requesting. So additionally, you can mention how your project is relevant to the funder interest, which can make them more receptive to granting your request. Next is describe your organization. So following the introduction, the next paragraph of the letter of inquiry often includes a concise description of your organization. You can include some background information and an overview of your staff and their qualifications. Be sure to convey a clear plan your organization has and how it would benefit from the funding you're requesting. So you can do this by listing a few projects your organization has already completed successfully. Third is include a need statement. So write a need statement that explains the reason your organization has requested funding by including statistics such as demographic studies. So it can be helpful to include concrete example of the problem you want to solve. For example, your organization may have identified a need in your community to offer better transportation options for children to get to and from school. So you could provide evidence to show that this is a problem by listing statistics such as how many buses are currently operating or how many buses are out of service. Fourth is provide a needs solution. So after the need statement, write a paragraph that includes your need solution, a clear description of how your organization plans to respond to the need you've identified. Describe your project, including the progress you've already made and your project's major objectives. Additionally, you can describe the outcomes you expect your project to achieve. For example, if you want to improve children's school transportations options, the main outcome of your project might be to ensure that every child gets to school in a timely fashion. So, one of your specific objectives for the first 6 months could be attaining funding to buy a new school bus. Fifth is list other funders you're approaching. So it can also be useful to include a brief list of other entities your organization has contacted for funding, such as government entities or other donors. Additionally, you can include information about any funding you've already received and how much more money you require to reach your funding goal. Sixth is conclude with a summary. Finally, close your letter of inquiry with a brief summary in which you can restate the main points of your letter. Additionally, be sure to thank the recipient for their consideration and include your contact information if a funder has included them the end of your letter. And if the funder has requested any additional attachments, you can include them at the end of your letter.
Good day, leaders. I am the last reporter. I am Liza May Peralta. Memorandum. Memorandum, or shortly known as memo. It refers to a short message that used for internal communication in a business communication. The purpose of memo is often to inform. Memo uses to, from, date, and subject. As you can see, this is the example of a memorandum. The memorandum versus the letter. As I discussed earlier, the memorandum or memo is a short message that often used to inform. Letter is defined as the form of written communication that contains a long message, address, greetings, which is Dear Mr., Miss, or Mom. Ended up with the closing, this is usually sincerely yours or truly yours. The differences of a memo and letters is letter always include a greetings and closing, which memo does not. Memo does not include address, whereas most letters do. The similarities of memo and letter are both used to convey message of information, uses similar format style, sent as hard copy by an external or internal delivery system. That's all for my report. Thank you.